Should we start or should we wait?
We can wait for 2-3 more minutes. Okay, I'll start the recording. Oh, no recording, right? Yeah, go ahead, Mataji.
Yeah, we are not recording, Mataji.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Today we'll have her Grace Kirtida Sundari Mataji give us an overview of Canto 3, Chapter 7. Mataji, you can now take over. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Kirtida Sundari Mataji. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you everyone for joining us, for sharing your valuable time with all of us. So without further ado, we can start our invocation prayers and then we'll move on to the chapter summary of Canto 3, Chapter 7 of Srimad Bahagvatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashte Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Naishtiki Shunvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantasto Abhadrani Vidhanoti Suhatsatam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namah Pankajana Nabhaya Namah Pankajamaline Namah Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangrihe Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gauri Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Guruvai Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalum Pangum Langayate Giram Yat Kripahatam Ham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So once again, welcome all of you. So we are in the third canto of Srimad Bahagvatam, and today we'll try to summarize chapter number 7. But before I move forward, I would like if anybody wants to volunteer and tell that where we stopped in chapter number 6 and what is the link to chapter number 7. Anybody wants to volunteer and tell?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Sri.
Mataji, last week I gave the overview, Mataji. So I remember 6th chapter, the universal form, where from after the prayers were offered by the Devatas, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, who entered into the universal shell, manifested himself into the universal form. And from the universal form, the different, we can say, the sense organs, right, were generated from the universal form, and the different varnas and the division of the universe was generated from the universal form. Mataji.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you so much, Prabhu. It was quite technical, but you did a good job. And thank you for summarizing this entire chapter. So yes, dear devotees, in the last chapter, we read about the Virat Purusha, as Prabhuji mentioned. We read about how the potencies of the Lord are all inconceivable, how the universe was formed, how Garbhodakshay Vishnu enters into it, how the creation takes place, how the demigods control all the modes, how the Varnas got manifested in different parts of the Virat Purusha. Then Maitreya Rishi describes basically that how the Lord is inconceivable and his activities are inconceivable. But simply by surrender unto the Lord through devotional service, one can attain the perfection of the human form of life. So there Maitreya Rishi ended, but then Vidura in this chapter, I'm sorry, I don't have slides, so I'll be just speaking. So if you can just hear, I think so that will help. So now in chapter number 7, the third canto, Vidura further asks some questions. He asked the questions to Maitreya Muni. This is the conversation that is going on between Vidura and Maitreya Muni. So Vidura asked these questions and he wants Maitreya Muni to resolve the doubts he has about Ishvara Tattva, about Jiva Tattva, and also on the other topics of bhakti. So these were the basically two things that he wants Maitreya Muni to clear all his doubts that he have regarding Ishvara Tattva and Jiva Tattva. So he inquires the first question that Vidura asked from Maitreya Muni. So first we have to understand that entire Srimad Bahagvatam, what to talk about in even Srimad Bahagvatam, all the other scriptures, it actually starts with the inquiry. So it's very important that we also should have that habit of asking questions, because questions will lead us further more elaboration. So when we ask questions, we help the speakers, we ask the speakers. So in that way, what more knowledge that can be given by the speaker gives. So it's very important that when we sit under lotus feet of our spiritual master or some pure devotees, then we should try to ask questions. These inquiries are very, very important, but we have to make it a point that these inquiries, these questions should be very, very submissive. It should not be posted as if we are challenging the speaker or we are testing the speaker or we want to test the knowledge of the speaker. No, that should not be the mood. So Vidura also is taking a very, very humble position. He is taking Maitreya Muni as his spiritual master, as his instructing spiritual master. And therefore, he is asking a lot of questions. He has full faith in Maitreya Muni. And he's asking questions, but in a very submissive form. Not challenging way, not to gain his own knowledge, not to test Maitreya Muni, but to allow himself so that he can be rid of all the doubts that he may have. Because doubt is something that will help us, that will basically not help us, but rather our spiritual life will be doomed if we keep on doubting. Because see, devotional service starts with faith, ahado shraddha. So we should have some amount of faith to whom we are lending our ears to. If we don't have faith in the person whom we are lending our ears to, then we will not be able to progress. So tat vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. It starts with prashna, but in the end also it means service. So we should ask submissive questions, and we should be very, very genuine in our questions, and we should have some amount of faith in whom we are asking the questions. So this is the example that Maitreya Muni and Vidura, they both are setting. And similar is the case with Maitreya Muni, that he also doesn't get agitated with any of the question of Vidura. No matter how simple questions he was asking, but still Maitreya Muni was not thinking, hey, Vidura, you don't even know this? No, he was very simply, humbly, genuinely answering the questions. So this also we have to imbibe, that if somebody asks the question, we don't have to feel agitated, or we don't have to judge the person who is asking the question. We have to, at our best capabilities, we have to try to answer the question. And if we don't know, then we can humbly say that I get back to you. So here, Maitreya Muni is being questioned by Vidura. So first question he asked is about Ishvara. He inquires about the Ishvara, that he asked that how is the Lord who is spiritual? And he used the word chinmatrasya. That means he's a chinmatra, means he is spiritual in nature. And he's transcendental, he's nirgunasya. And how can that a Lord who is spiritual, who is transcendental, but is still connected to the material gunas, how the Lord who is unchangeable, avikaranina, perform actions that indicate change? So these are some questions that he wants to ask. And then he asks that, impelled by the desires, we see that the young boys in this material world, they are very enthusiastic to play with the other boys. But here we see that the Lord is self-satisfied. He is Atmaram. He is Swataha Tripta. Then how come he is having some kind of attachment? Why he is creating this and this world? Why he is maintaining? And finally, why he is dissolving the universe by his own Maya Shakti? What is impelling the Supreme Lord to create this universe at first place? Yes, we understand, Vidura says that, yes, I understand that sometimes, the boys, they're very enthusiastic in playing. So they have the desire. But here our Supreme Lord is desireless because he is Atmaram. He is self-satisfied. He is without desires, and moreover, he is detached. Then why? What is the reason behind this? That he creates the material world, he maintains it, and finally he annihilates it. Though by his Maya Shakti, but why he does it at that first place? So these are the two questions in sub-questions that Vidura was asking. So first is, I repeat, he was asking the Lord that how come the Lord who is spiritual in nature, who is transcendental, who is unchangeable, perform actions and connect to the material world? And second, that what is the desire, what impels the Supreme Lord to create and maintain and dissolve this universe? So these are the two questions he asked Maitreya Muni regarding Ishvara Tattva. Next comes the Jiva Tattva. For Jiva Tattva, he asked that how does the pure soul become engaged in this nescience? Nescience means in this material existence. How come the pure soul, who is already on the level of understanding the Supreme Lord, how come he become engaged in this nescience? Then why does the living entity suffer in spite of the Lord's presence in the heart of that living entity as Paramatma? So we all know that every living entity has a Paramatma. So he is asking that how come the living entity suffer? Because when the Paramatma is there with you, then what happens that the Paramatma doesn't intervene and still the Jiva carries on his own perspectives and suffers? What is the reason? And he humbly requested that, oh Maitreya Muni, my mind is completely illusioned, and I request you to clear up all my doubts. So after hearing these questions that were put forward by Vidura, Maitreya Muni, he started answering. And he said, and he, actually Sukadev Goswami, who was narrating this conversation of Maitreya Muni and Vidura to Parikshit Maharaj, mentions that Maitreya Muni was very much God conscious. He was a Bhagavad Chitta. His consciousness was always absorbed in the Supreme Lord. So he replied to Vidura, who was very, very inquisitive about the absolute truth. He wants to know about the absolute truth. So Maitreya Muni was a perfect master to explain, and Vidura was a perfect disciple to grab that knowledge from his spiritual master. So Maitreya Muni said, it's completely illogical when someone says that the Supreme Lord is overcome by illusion or Maya. And at the same time, they say that he maintains and he's unconditioned. So all this is against the logic. It's very much illogical. Either the person may not be able to maintain, and if he's able to maintain, then how come he's overcome by illusion? So this is a very illogical statement, because people say that, yes, Supreme Lord is overcome by illusion. It's only the Supreme Lord is also come under the contact of Maya when he incarnates. These are the verdicts of Mayavadis. But at the same time, they also believe that he is the one who maintains. They believe in some super higher powers. They do believe, Mayavadis do believe all this. So now Maitreya Muni is saying that this sounds very illogical. How can it be possible? The personality of Godhead actually has unlimited potencies to create, to manifest many beautiful, wonderful things, both temporary and permanent, something which is temporary and permanent. So everything is carried out by the energies of the Supreme Sweet Will. And he said that this material world is the creation of his external energy. So Krishna has three energies, Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tathastha Shakti. So the material world that we see, it is actually by the Bahiranga Shakti, by the external energy. And it appears to be temporary. Yes, this material nature appears to be temporary. It manifests at certain intervals, maintained for a certain time, and then again it gets dissolved. But still, it is eternal. It is temporary, but it is eternal. However, the spiritual world never gets annihilated. The spiritual world works under the Antaranga Shakti of the Supreme Lord. It never gets annihilated. It is nirguna. It is free from all tinges of the modes of material nature. So the Bahiranga Shakti has no adhikar over the spiritual world. She doesn't control. It's only under the control of Antaranga Shakti of the Supreme Lord. It is only the material world that gets annihilated, and this can be explained by an analogy. So then Maitreya Muni explains that analogy. And he says that just as we see the magician shows, we see some magician shows, and that magician, he becomes a cow by some magical tactics. He becomes a cow. But yet we know that he's not that cow. But at the same time, the cow displayed by the magician is not different from him. Right? So he's asking. He's saying that sometimes when we see this magical shows, we see a magician who, because of some magical tactics, he performed an activity where he becomes a cow. Now, that doesn't mean that that cow is magician. We know that there is a difference. It's only some magical tactics being used that the cow has been come in place of that magician. But at the same time, the cow that is being displayed by the magician is not different from him, because this is what he wants to show to the world. This is what he wants to show to the audience, that see, I have done some magical tricks, and because of which I have become a cow. So similarly, this material potency is not different from the Lord, because it is coming out from the Lord. But at the same time, that manifestation of potency is not the Supreme Lord. So it is said that, yes, the Supreme Lord, this energy of this material world is actually coming from the Supreme Lord. But that doesn't mean that the Supreme Lord gets entangled with it. He is still aloof. He is aloof from the spiritual world. The Lord is Saguna. He has his own eternal potency, but at the same time, he is Nirguna. Why? Because he is not touched with the material energy. And there the example also that Maitreya Muni gives is of the prison house. He says that just as we see that there are some restrictions in the prison house, that restrictions for the prison house are only for the prisoners who are there in that prison. But they are not applicable to the king. The king, however, is not affected by any implication whatsoever. The king is free to come in and out of that prison. But the prisoners are not. They are implicated. So king can visit the prison house by his goodwill. Similarly, the Lord is attached to everything, but still he is detached from everything. So the Lord creates, but at that same time, he is not attached to it. He is detached from that material existence. So this was the answer to the first question that Vidura asked. He asked that how the Lord, who is spiritual and transcendental, still is connected with the material modes or comes in the contact of material gunas. So to this, Maitreya Muni explained that no. Yes, it looks like the Lord is coming in contact with the material gunas, but still he is Swarat. He doesn't come. He comes with his own sweet will. He is not forced. And this material energy also works under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Now, the second question was that what impels the Supreme Lord to create, maintain, and dissolve this universe by his Maya Shakti? And second question about Ishvara, Vidura asked that why does the Lord create, maintain, and dissolve the universe by his Maya Shakti? And to that, Maitreya Muni answers that it's not because of the Lord that he wants to create. It's because of the jivas, because they have so much desires. They are so much conditioned. They're so much bewildered by that Maya Shakti that due to forgetfulness of their own spiritual identity, they want to become entangled in this material world. They want to lord it over. They cannot bear that why Krishna has to be worshipped. Why only Krishna? Why not me? And that desire that a living entity has, and because of it, it becomes conditioned. He wants to lord it over. He wants to become the proprietor. He wants to become the controller. So because of that desire, the Lord says, okay, well, your desire will not be fulfilled here, because here I am the Supreme. I am Swarat. If you want to be in the spiritual world, you have to work under my jurisdiction. But if you want even an iota of desire, the tinge of desire is there in your heart, that you want to lord it on your own, you want to lord it over the material nature, you want to become a controller, a proprietor, a master, then here it is. Here is that prison house in the form of that universe, in the form of that material existence. So go and enjoy as far as you can. But still, the Supreme Lord is very, very merciful. He doesn't leave us all by our own selves. He accompanies us in the form of Paramatma, in the heart of every living entity. He is just waiting for us to look at him and say, Krishna, from today, I am yours. Please accept me the way I am. You know my past, you know my present, and you know my future. So don't even think of my past. If you consider my eligibility, you will find none. Yogyata vicharo kichu nahi pao, tomhara karuna sar. If you find some eligibility, you'll never be able to find. But from today onwards, I'm yours. Please accept me. So this way, Maitreya Muni answers that it's not the Lord who is creating. It's not the desire of the Lord. Actually, it's the desire of a jiva. And Lord is so compassionate that he's giving us chance to experience what we want to. So Maya Shakti influenced the jiva to behave independently. Although the Lord activities are very difficult to understand, but to some extent, the devotees can understand them through the transcendental service of the Lord. For he is the one who creates, who maintains, and who annihilates through the agencies of the demigods and his own Shakti. So this was the answer that Maitreya Muni gave. Now the next is, he asked about the Jiva Tattvas. So remember, the first question he asked about Jivas is that how does the pure soul becomes entangled? And second question he asked that why does the living entity suffer in spite of the Lord's presence in the heart of that every living entity? So inquiries about the jiva, that first is that how jiva, a pure soul, gets illusioned by the Maya Shakti, and how the living entities suffer in spite of the Lord's presence in the form of Paramatma in one's heart. To this, Maitreya Muni answers that the real problem is Atma Vipariyaha. What is the meaning of Atma Vipariyaha? Means Atma means your own self, and Vipariyaha means identification, misidentification. So the real cause of everything is misidentification. Distress of the living entity is due to only the misidentification. For example, a man who sees in his dream that his head is cut off. Prabhupada gives this example, this analogy in the purport, and he says, because Maitreya Muni just says that it is because of the misidentification that a jiva suffers. But Prabhupada in the purport explains in detail, and he says that just a person whose head is severed, he loses his power to see also. So it makes sense. When the head is severed, naturally the eyes are gone, so you cannot see. But he says that if somebody's head is severed, he loses the power to see, but still he sees that his head is cut off. How can it be possible? So if somebody is seeing that his head is cut off, so Prabhupada is saying when the head is cut off, then how is it possible for the jiva to see that the head is cut off? Because as soon as the head is cut off, even the seeing capability also goes away because the eyes goes away. So anybody wants to make a guess? How it's possible?
Mataji, we can feel the pain that our head is cut off.
No. Prabhupada is saying that a person who sees that his head is cut off. So how it can be possible that you can see your head is cut off, because the moment the head is cut off, the eyes are not there. So if eyes are not there, then how one can see?
But Sagri Mataji is telling the soul is all pervasive, the soul can see.
Here I'm not talking about the soul, Mataji. I'm just saying that Prabhupada is asking, how can you see? Because that seeing ability comes from the eyes. You can't see anymore.
It's in the dream, right, Mataji?
Very good. Yes, Sureshwar Prabhu. So Prabhupada is saying that's the dream you are seeing. It's only the dream. It's not factual. There's no factual background. It's only the dream that a jiva is seeing, that his head is severed off. It's just a hallucination. There is no factual background to it. Similarly, Prabhupada says the jiva, the living entity, is actually eternally subordinate to that Supreme Lord. He has this knowledge with him that I am subordinate, Jivara Sarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. He has this knowledge. But then what happened? He artificially thinks himself that why Krishna? Why not me? And he loses all his knowledge. And this is because of which he's always entangled in Maya. So this is the hallucination that we feel. We think that no, I am the Supreme Lord. I am the doer. And Bhagavad Gita says, Karta ahankara vimudatma, karta hameti manyate. That those who think that I am the doer, actually they are always under the influence of false ego. So this is where the Maya concept comes in. Maya helps this jiva, strengthen the faith of jiva, that yes, whatever you are thinking is right. You are the controller, you are the proprietor, you are the master of everything. Maya helps this jiva to strengthen this faith. And this is how the jiva is always under the clutches of Maya and gets entangled birth after birth. So this conception of seeing the head being severed has no meaning. So therefore, this process of always being in avidya, not having the right perspective, not having the knowledge that yes, my eternal position is that I'm subordinate to Krishna. Jiva is always subordinate to Ishvara, but Jiva forgets that because he has uncontrolled desire that keeps on popping. So he wants to fulfill that desire. He sees that, no, I am the one who is the controller, and Maya helps the Jiva to strengthen this philosophy. So by this way, the Jiva is always and always under the influence of material energy. So we have to understand, Maitreya Muni continues, that we have to understand that our existence, our life The miseries in this material world, they are just like a dream. We are seeing, but they are all like a dream. They are not permanent. They are temporary. No matter how much happiness we go through, no matter how much distress, or no matter how much miseries we go through, but it's only the matter of time. Only the matter of time. So it is all temporary. These miseries, these sufferings, these happiness, everything is temporary. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead here, Maitreya Muni continued, and he said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead here is compared to a moon in the sky. And the living entities are also compared to the reflection of the moon in the water. So what happened? The moon in the sky is fixed. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is fixed. But when we see the reflection of the moon in the water, then what happens? We jivas are actually the reflections of that moon. Why? Because qualitatively we are one with the Supreme Lord. Qualitatively, there is no difference between the Lord and the Ishvara, Jiva and Ishvara. There is no difference. But quantitatively, huge lot of difference. We are just the minute particles of that Supreme Lord. We may have the same desires, but our desires are perverted. We want to enjoy. So here Prabhupada, Maitreya Muni is saying that the moon in the sky is fixed and it does not appear to quiver. But the moon, the reflection of the moon in the water, it appears to be moving. So Jiva in such pure, as such is pure, Jiva is pure. Even the soul is Satchitananda, because qualitatively the soul is qualitatively one with the super soul. So as such in nature, the Jiva is pure. But because Jiva is in that material nature, which is connected to the three modes, it experiences some duality, some happiness, some miseries. And that is only due to the material misidentification. So when the reflection of the moon is there on the water, this water acts like a three modes of material nature. So the water is not still. So our image gets quivered. The moon you see in the water is in a quivering stage. It moves. It never stills. So this is what is because we are always in the contact of the material nature. So whatever dualities we feel, whatever happiness, whatever miseries we feel, it is only due to the material misidentification. Because we think, suppose if I lose money, I think, why I get so much of distress? Because some point I think that this belongs to me. I lost my money. Was it mine? Does it belong to me? No, it belongs to Krishna. Krishna gave me and Krishna took away from me. Easy said than done. I'm just saying it. But this is what the philosophy that Maitreya Muni is saying it to Vidura. That we identify ourselves with those relatives, with those possessions that is there in the material body. So when we lose, because we are identifying with that, naturally we'll feel some kind of misery, some kind of sufferings. And same thing is with the happiness. The moment we get some happiness in terms of some possessions, in terms of some help from the relatives, we think that I deserve it, or yes, I try to connect with those possessions. So there is a tinge of happiness. But that happiness is also temporary. Similarly, that distress is also temporary. No matter you think, you introspect in your own life, that previously for which we were crying so hard, now it doesn't make sense to us. It doesn't bother us anymore because the time has helped us to heal those sufferings. The time helps us to go through those sufferings. So everything, bottom line, is temporary. Then why worry? Then why we are worrying? We are worrying because we are misidentifying ourselves with those possessions, with those persons. So therefore, we are suffering. We are having that pains of suffering and some kind of happiness, so-called happiness, which is not existing in this material world. So the quivering quality of the moon, Maitreya Muni continues, that is, however, is also variable, because sometimes the water is still, exactly still is standing still, then definitely there is no quivering anymore. Similarly, Maitreya Muni said that the conditioned soul, who is always thira, who is always dhira, who is always fixed in Krishna consciousness, will not move. will have no quivering as such and will have no problems. For him, happiness, distress are just like changing of summer and the winter seasons. They come and they go because they are sthira. So the reflection of the moon in the standstill water doesn't quiver. It's still fixed. And that is compared with the pure souls, that they are so fixed. But what is that verse in Bhagavad Gita? It says, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati. Yes, those who are in a Brahma Bhuta stage, those who are absorbed in Krishna consciousness, those who are absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna, for them na sochati na kankshati. They don't lament for whatever has happened in the past, and neither they hanker for what is going to come in the future, because they are fixed. Rakho bhi maro bhi jo ichha tohar. They have only this, that, oh Krishna, you have full adhikar. It's up to you whether you want to annihilate me or you want to save me. It's up to you. I am a typical surrendered soul unto you. From today onwards, I have turned on to you and said, it's up to you, Krishna. So then the pure soul is never conditioned, is never entangled in this material world. Even though they may be in this material world, but they will be not of this material world. Yeah? So one can come out of this. Maitreya Muni gives the answer. He says that one can come out of this situation of so-called happiness and distress when one surrenders to the Lord wholeheartedly. When one serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva through the process of devotional service, in the mood of detachment, then the Lord's mercy can be realized by the association of the pure devotees. So definitely, we have to be in the association of the pure devotees. We have to become detached and then wholeheartedly serve the Supreme Lord, do devotional service. Everything we do it for Krishna. Yad karoshi, yad dagnashi. Whatever we have, we use it for Krishna with the pure intention in our mind, in the association of pure devotees. Then one can release oneself from the material modes of nature. Then this Maya Shakti will help the Jiva to move further in the spiritual life, to connect to Krishna. Otherwise, the Maya Shakti will work under the direction of Krishna, where Maya Shakti will keep us entangled, strengthen our wrong misidentification faith that we are the controllers. But if she sees that no matter what, how much tantrums she is throwing, but if we are sthira, we are fixed in our consciousness, then the Maya Shakti has no role. Then what happened? Mahatmanas tumam partha daivi prakriti mashritam. Then Krishna says that even though you are in this material world, but now because you have become a Mahatma, you have become a sthira, you have become a dhira person, sober person, fixed in equanimity, then Daivim Prakriti Mashram. Then we work under the Antaranga Shakti of the Supreme Lord. Then we work under the Yoga Maya Shakti, just like Mother Yashoda, Nand Maharaj, all the Vrajvasis. They were here in Vrindavan, in Bhauma Vrindavan, they were connected with Krishna. But they were not under the Maya Shakti. They were also forgetful of Krishna. They don't consider that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Mother Yashoda thinks that if I don't feed my Krishna will starve. He's a hungry boy. He'll starve. So let me feed him. If I'll not feed, Krishna will not be able to sustain. That's the mood Mother Yashoda has, because she is always under the Daivi Prakriti. She is always under the Yoga Maya Shakti, where she becomes forgetful of Krishna, and therefore she showers all her love in abundance to Krishna. Similarly, the friends think, oh Krishna, let's wrestle. And Krishna says, oh, I lost the match. Then they'll say, okay, the deal was that whosoever will loses the match will carry the winner on the back. So now, Krishna, you have lost it. So you have to carry us on your back. They don't think that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. How can I step on Krishna, put my foot on Krishna and then be on his back? They don't think like that, because they're always covered under the Yoga Maya Shakti, where they forget that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Okay, he must be, so what? They don't even think of that. Even after Govardhan Leela, some of the cowherd boys saw that some demigods are coming and worshipping the Supreme Lord. But they don't care for that. So what? But still, he is our friend. That is the Yoga Maya Shakti. So Maitreya Muni says that when we are under the association of the pure devotees, then, and we work under their direction, and surrender ourselves wholeheartedly, then even though when we are in this world, we are not of this world. We are always under Devim Prakriti Mashrit. Then Maitreya Muni further says, very important verse, one of the most important verse in this chapter. He says, Ashesha Saklesha Samam Vidyate Gunanavada Shavatam Murare Kimva Punastat Charna Ravinda Paraga Seva Ratiratma Labdha. What he says, because one may ask that, what do you mean by devotional service? That we have to perform devotional service. Then Maitreya Muni says this, that simply by hearing and chanting of the transcendental name of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, one can achieve the cessation of unlimited miserable conditions. And that is what he says is sadhana bhakti. That when we follow the regulative principles, we work under the directions of the Supreme Spiritual Master, and whatever he says, we follow it. Then we perform sadhana bhakti. And through that sadhana bhakti, when we hear and chant, it helps us to give up all kind of desires, and at the same time, all our unlimited miseries also get satiated. So therefore, Maitreya Muni continued that this is the sadhana bhakti. If sadhana bhakti can give this kind of process that we can be relieved from our material sufferings, then what to talk about the bhava bhakti and prema bhakti, where one has this raga, this attachment to the Supreme Lord, where they just want to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and always connected to him. So what to speak about those Raganuga Bhaktas who are always in rag, who are always in attachment with the Supreme Lord? So definitely they are on a very, very high platform. And Prabhupada in the purport mentions that there are two stages of executing devotional service. The first stage is practicing devotional service, when with our present senses, with our present limbs, under the guidance of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, we perform devotional service by following the instructions of our spiritual master. The second is attaining the sincere attachment, that asakti, that rag, that ruchi is there towards the Supreme Lord, that I want to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord no matter what. When we 100% become Atmanivedanam to the Supreme Lord, that no matter in whatever condition you want me, it's okay. That is what this called is Raga Bhakti. Raga Bhakti is actually the mature stage of a devotee, when he automatically wants to take up the service out of the sincere attachment. He's no more on the sadhana bhakti level, where I want to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. So it's not that in Raga Bhakti we don't follow the instructions. It's just that we are not duty bound. There is a difference. In sadhana bhakti, we are duty bound. We have to get up early in the morning. We have to chant our rounds. We do deity worship. We offer bhoga to the Supreme Lord. So this is all out of matter of duty, because we have been instructed by our instructing spiritual master or our Diksha spiritual master. Right? So we are always under the bound of a duty. We are duty bound. So we are performing that sadhana bhakti. But the more we perform the sadhana bhakti, the more we become stable in performing this devotional service, the more attachment we will have for Krishna. So now the same service that we are doing is no more duty bound. Then automatically, without the alarm going on, we are awake, because now we don't have to chant, but we want to chant. So there is a complete transition that happens from sadhana bhakti from sadhana vaidhi bhakti to raganuga bhakti. So that is the mature stage of a devotee. So Maitreya Muni gives the final answer to the questions to Vidura, that actually it's devotional service of the Lord only, which is the ultimate means to mitigate all the miserable conditions of material existence. And by practicing sadhana bhakti, one may gradually rise to a point of raga bhakti. And then by performing raga bhakti in loving relationship, in loving transcendental service, one can even control the supreme powerful Lord. So the Lord himself becomes the sold out servant to his pure devotees. Krishna says, Aham Bhakta Paradhina. Yes, Krishna says in the very first chapter of the very first verse in Srimad Bahagvatam, where he says, I'm Abhigna Swarat. I'm independent and I'm Swarat. I'm cognizant. I'm the knower of everything in and out. But then he says, but still, aham bhakta paradhina. I am always under the control of my devotees. That's why we see in the Mahabharata that how Krishna was doing menial services for the Pandavas. He was acting as a charioteer, as a chariot driver for Partha, for Arjun. He was awake the whole 18 days of Mahabharata Yuddha. Everybody used to go and sleep in their camp, but Krishna was the only one who was awake throughout those 18 days. He was working like a watchman for those Pandavas in those camps where this in the Kurukshetra war. He works as a peace messenger. He was invited in Rajasuya Yagya of Arjun, of Yudhishthir Maharaj, but what he was doing, he was washing the lotus feet of all the sages and wiping their lotus feet with his uttariya. So with his upper cloth. So what is all this? Because Krishna is sold out servant. He becomes a sold out servant to his pure devotee. So therefore, Maitreya Muni is saying that those who are in Raga Bhakti, those by nature are so much attached to Krishna that they are no more duty bound, but they want to serve Krishna wholeheartedly with full surrenderance. Then Krishna says, I be the control. They can control, actually Krishna says that they can control me. So Krishna becomes the subservient to those devotees. So this way, Maitreya Muni answers all the questions to Vidura. And after getting answers from sage Maitreya, Vidura shared his heartfelt realizations. Sometimes we also ask some questions to our spiritual master. And when spiritual master answer it very nicely, we want to share that how much relieved we got, how much happy we are that now we are on the right understanding. We want to share our realizations. Similarly, here, Vidura is also sharing his realizations. He says that I want to share, oh Maitreya Muni, I want to share my heartfelt realizations. Then he said, Maitreya Muni, you are really great. You are the one who actually removed all the doubts that I have about the Supreme Lord and about the conditioned living entity. You have cut off all the doubts that I have by the weapon of your convincing words. And you are actually very accurately, you explained that the disturbances of the jiva have no other basis than the jiva's own desire. So now he says that I'm 100% convinced that this material manifestation is without substance. So actually service converts conviction into realization. And I realize this only by serving your lotus feet. So when we serve the lotus feet of a pure devotee, of our spiritual master, and in their association, we give up all kind of false identification because they tell us, Sarvapadhi Vinarmuktam. They explain us that you have been carrying this designation for time immemorial. So please give up. And in those association, we get to learn that I have to give up my so-called misidentification. And by serving one spiritual master, one develops that transcendental ecstasy in Lord service, in various relationships, and finally dispels all our material sufferings, all our material distress. So persons whose austerity is not as such, who don't follow the instructions of the spiritual master, who don't want to become austere, and who doesn't want to be in the service of pure devotees, then definitely they are in problem, because they always consider or treat themselves or identify themselves with the things of this material world, because they don't want to perform so-called austerities. They want to enjoy the sense gratification. So after being completely satisfied, then Maitreya, by completely satisfied with Maitreya Muni, now Vidura wanted to understand the creative portion of the Lord. He didn't stop. He said, I have few more questions, and with your permission, I want to ask. So rest of the entire chapter is just the questions that is being put forward by Vidura. And Vidura said that now you have already told me that how the Lord Karnodakshaya Vishnu is there, and finally from Karnodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu comes, who enter the universe and manifest the Virat Rupa, in which all the 14 planetary system exist. But now I want to ask about the further questions. And he put the same questions that Parikshit Maharaj asked Sukadeva Goswami about the 10 subject matter of Srimad Bahagvatam. Atra sarga visargascha sthanam poshanam yutaya manvantara ishano katha nirodha muktirashraya. So these are the 12 subject matter of Srimad Bahagvatam. And Vidura also asked the same questions to Maitreya Muni. So rest of the entire chapter are just 13 questions that Vidura asked. So we'll go one by one. First question he asked about the vibhutis of the Supreme Lord that populate the entire universe. Vibhutis means the opulence, that Krishna's beauty, Krishna's intelligence, Krishna's fame, Krishna's knowledge, Krishna's renunciation. So all these are the vibhutis. So he wanted to ask about the vibhutis of the Supreme Lord that populate the entire universe. That means he's asking about the sarga aspect, how at first place the creation takes place, how the mahatattva comes, how the prakriti comes in being. The second question he asked is about that how Brahma was created. How Brahma, who was created from that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, which has already been explained in the previous chapter, how that Brahma further carries out the creation. Example, Manus, the descendant of those Manus. So I want to know about that. The categories of living beings, their generations, their subdivisions, the Prajapatis. I want to know everything about them. That means he's asking about the Visarga, the secondary creation. Then he asked about the different planets and their situations and their measurements, their distances. So that means he's asking about the Sthanam. Then he asked about the Guna Avtaras, the pastimes of the Lord. Then he asked about the Varnashrama system, the 4 statuses and orders of the human form of life. That is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, as well as the 4 status, that is being a brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi. Then he says, I want to know about yoga. I want to know about yagna. I want to know about jnana. I want to know about Sankhya also. And I also want to know about Narada Pancharatra. Then he said, I wanted to know about the imperfections of the faithless atheist, the movement of the living being in various species of life as per their work and the modes. So he even want to know about the atheist. What happened to those atheists? Atheists are the one who defy the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. Basically, they don't believe in any higher power. They think that whatever we are in this life, that's it. There is no reincarnation. For atheists, the famous example is that life is an ice cream. Eat it, enjoy it before it melts. Because for them, there is no other life. There is no other supreme higher power. But he wanted to know. He said, I want to know about atheists also, how they move in their life and how they also get transferred from one womb to another. Then he says, I want to know about the 4 purusharthas, the rules and the professions and the punishment, means dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Where does it leads to? When he says, I wanted to know about the death rites, the pitras, the constellation arrangement, and of course, the provision of time, the division of time. He said that he asked questions about charity, about austerity, about sacrifice and duties in different situations. He asked how to completely satisfy the Supreme Lord. He asked how many material dissolution exist, who survives after, if the Lord is to serve the Lord while he is asleep. Then last, he wanted to know the truth of Jiva and Ishvara's essential knowledge of Vedas and what is the necessity of Guru and Shishya. Later he said, Oh Maitreya, you are like my spiritual master. And spiritual masters are so kind that they describe all the knowledge to the disciple without even being asked so. So sometimes, as in the starting of the class I mentioned, when we ask questions from the spiritual master or some pure devotees, then sometimes while answering the question, they want to give some more details to it. And those details help the disciple to move forward. So similarly here also Vidura is saying that you are the spiritual master. You know what is going in my mind. So please answer all these questions, dissipate all my doubts. And please describe all that knowledge which I have not even asked. Maybe I have missed something, but you please be kind enough and please answer everything in detail. Finally, Vidura declared his confidence in Maitreya, which is very, very important. We have to have that faith in our spiritual master or to whom we are asking questions. We should not ask just to judge the teacher or just we are waiting for the answer that can satisfy us. That should not be the mood. If we are really surrendering to someone, we should follow their instructions. We should follow what they say. So Vidura is also saying that I have full confidence in you, O Maitreya Muni. And then he said that knowledge is impossible without a guru. How could one can have the knowledge of devotional service and detachment without the help of spotless devotee like yourself? You are the source of all knowledge. Therefore, please dissipate all my doubts. And Vidura said, I ask all these questions with a view to know the pastimes of Lord Hari. So kindly describe them all and describe them for all those who have lost their vision, for those who have lost the vision in the Supreme Lord, for their benefit. Please answer all this question, because that will be the greatest, highest welfare activity. Your answers will grant immunity from all kind of material miseries, and this charity is greater than all the charities and sacrifices and penances. And Maitreya Muni, you are capable of explaining. He is giving his full faith and confidence in Maitreya Muni, and he is glorifying Maitreya Muni, and he is saying, you are great. You are capable of explaining all the Puranas and all the questions, and you have been, so Maitreya Muni was actually invited by Vidura to answer all these questions. So in his heart, even Maitreya Muni felt very enlivened, very enthusiastic, and he smiled. He smiled at all the glorification that Vidura put forward to him, and he said, because of you, you are such a sincere disciple. Because you have put forward so many interesting questions, so many questions that will open up so many answers. And therefore, he smiled and he said, I'm feeling a lot of transcendental happiness in me. And thus he begin to narrate that Bhagavad Katha about Krishna Katha. So we will also give a pause here to this chapter. And next Thursday, we will see that how Maitreya Muni started his conversation with the manifestation of Brahma from Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and then slowly he will try to answer about the Sarga, the Visarga, the Sthanam, the Poshan, all other aspects of Srimad Bahagvatam to Vidura. So thank you all so much. I hope I tried to cover it in time, but let's see if we have any quick questions and comments, and you can please go ahead.
Krishna Mataji, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was perfectly on time, and thanks for an excellent summary. The flow was so good, and we were able to visualize everything. Though it was philosophical, it was very easy to understand. Thank you so much. And also thanks for listing those questions that were asked. So thank you again, Mataji. Very nice. I like the way you used all the analogies that were described by Srila Prabhupada in the purports to explain these concepts. Thank you so much again, Mataji, for that. Miraculous Mukund has a question.
Yes, Mukund.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Janma Pranam, all goes to Srila Prabhupada. This is Mukund. First of all, Mataji, I would like to offer my gratitude to you and your family, because 2 weeks ago you had helped us a lot when our car key had gotten stuck inside our own car. So thank you very much for your help, Ajay Govind Prabhuji's help, and Ujjwal Rasnanda Prabhuji's help. Mataji, from this class, I understood a lot about the fact that it's the misidentification that makes us stay in this material world, and you had given the analogy that if the head is cut off, then that means that you cannot see. But if we are still able to see, that means that we are in a dream, and that is compared to this material world. So that is saying that this material world is like a dream. It's not real. So that analogy was really helpful for me to understand this point. And one more thing that I'd understood was by another analogy that you had given, which was about the Supreme Lord Krishna is compared to as the moon in the sky, and we are compared to the reflection of the moon in the water. So when the water is moving, that is like that means that we are being afflicted by Maya, and we are coming inside its control. So that's when we see that our reflection is moving around. So Mataji, one of the small questions that I had for this specific analogy was that can the water, like in this case, the water will be compared to Maya, right? Because
Yes.
okay. Thank you, Mataji. And another question that I had, it wasn't about this analogy, but I didn't understand exactly how we remove our misidentification. Like, because in our daily life, we usually take small things like maybe that, like some pencil or something, we take it as that we are its master, and like we take it as if we are its master. So how do we get rid of that feeling that we are something's master, and it's not, everything is not Krishna's?
Very good. Thank you so much, Mukund. I'm so much grateful to you. And thank you for mentioning about that service. But trust me, it was not we that decided to do that service. Again, that was Krishna's thing that came up. It was Krishna's instructions that immediately came up. Otherwise, we were about to leave. But somehow Krishna inspired us that I asked some question from your mother and then finally came to know that you are in some trouble. So again, I'll say nothing belongs to me. It was not because of me, but we were happy to help you out. And we were very grateful to the entire family, to all of your entire family, though we missed seeing your dad. Regarding the analogies that you were grateful for, so again, the credit goes to Srila Prabhupada. These are not my analogies. These are all written in the purport in this chapter. So I was just simply repeating like a parrot. So credit goes to our dear Srila Prabhupada. Our glories to him. Another question that yes, water can be compared to Maya. That's what this analogy says as per Srila Prabhupada. Then your last question, which is a very important question, that how we can exactly remove our misidentification. Again, it's easy said than done. But the point is that we have to understand that nothing belongs to me. If we start thinking that this belongs to me, naturally we are identifying with the world or with the possessions. So we have to come on to that level where we think that nothing belongs to me whatsoever. Everything is Krishna's property, everything is Krishna's energy, and even all the capabilities, the powers, the influential things that I have is also because of Krishna. So I am just a puppet in the hand of a puppeteer. If Krishna wants that I should get a fame, so be it. If Krishna wants that the whole world should spit on me, so be it. So Rakho bhi maro bhi jo ichha tumhar. This is the 100% surrenderance that one should have for Krishna. Krishna, it's up to you. If you want that I should walk with my head up in the society, so be it. If you want that I should be humiliated in the society, so be it. I am just a puppet in your hands, Krishna. In this way, when we will think, then we are removing ourselves from those misidentification. But if we think, no, I am a mother, so I have full control on my child. My child is my child, so I am going to control him. Well, in one sense, yes and no. Why no? Because I don't have that adhikar on that child, that I am the one who's going to train him. No. But in the one sense, yes, we take that as a responsibility. So even if to some we have that kind of mentality that I have to control that person, then we do it as a matter of responsibility. Like a mother has a full right on the son, to control the child, daughter, to control the child basically. The mother has that full eligibility, the full adhikar for the mother. But if mothers start thinking that I am the mother and I am doing it and the child should listen to me 100%, well, it's the fault of a mother. So the parent do it as a matter of responsibility. That responsibility which has given to from Krishna to the parents. So parents also treat their children as devotees of Krishna only. Devotees of Krishna, and train them. Yes, Mother Yashoda she also took a stick behind Krishna because she wants to train Krishna. She was sick of getting all the complaints from all the Vrajavasis that he is stealing butter from their homes. So she also wants to control his child. Even it is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita that even Jagannath Mishra will scold Nimai for all the mischievous activities he'll do. And everybody will tell, Jagannath Mishra, why you are doing so? Then Jagannath Mishra's reply will be that if I'm not going to correct him, who is going to correct him? So he was doing it as a matter of responsibility. So similarly, as you said, that sometimes we get this kind of thinking that this possession is mine, this I can control over it. But that control, that thought of controlling someone should come from the matter of responsibility, not with the thought of that now you have become subservient to me, so you work according to my instructions. That should not be the mood. This is what I'm talking about, mortal souls, like the people or those who are living. Now you talked about the pencil, that you gave the example of a pencil. Yes, this pen or this pencil is yours. It belongs to you, but you should think that this is also an energy of Krishna, because Krishna says, I am present in every atom. I am present in any animate and inanimate objects. So when we are using anything, we should use it for Krishna's service. We should not think that I have the full adhikar over it. We are the master of the pencils. It belongs to us, but at the same time, we should think that this is Krishna's energy. Krishna is giving me his energy. Krishna is so compassionate that Krishna has given me this pen or pencil to write. So let me write something in glorification of Krishna. And even if we are writing our academics exam, we should think that I'm doing it for Krishna. Because Krishna is pleased. Krishna has made me a student. Krishna has put me in a certain class, in a certain grade where I have to achieve something. So when this kind of mentality comes, for everything and for everybody, then we will be away from so-called of misidentification. Then we will identify everything in relation to Krishna. And that is what Maitreya Muni is saying, that we should not identify something to me, rather to Krishna. Give credit to Krishna. It's because of Krishna that something is happening. It's because of Krishna that I'm able to speak. It's because of Krishna that I'm having some possessions. So always be grateful to Krishna. Always be grateful to your spiritual master. Always be grateful to your higher authorities. Hope that helps.
Thank you very much, Mataji, for the answer. But I got like a sub question relating to your answer. You had said that we should consider that we're not the that it's the energy of Krishna, and we are the master of it, but it's the energy of Krishna, and we should use it for the glorification of Krishna or in the service of Krishna. But in the starting, you had said that we should consider that it's not ours, it's Krishna's.
Yeah, it's Krishna's. It's not ours. Even if it looks like this pen belongs to me, but I doesn't own this pen. I own this pen only in a namesake that this pen belongs to me. But after all, it's Krishna's energy. It's Krishna's who is giving me the facilitation that I can buy this pen and I can write something this pen and I can use this pen in Krishna's service. So when we think everything in relationship to Krishna, then we are removing ourselves from misidentification. This is just a small example, Mukund. I'm just giving you because you bring up that example of a pen or pencil. So I'm just telling, but people, they start associating with the possessions. They think their car, their home, their money, their bank balance. So there it brings up a problem that we should not think that anything belongs to me. If it belongs to me, if that car, if I'm so much attached to the car and it belongs to me, then the moment I lose the car, maybe because of any unfortunate condition, then I will repent on it. But why should I repent on it? It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to me. It's Krishna's. Krishna wanted, he gave it me, he gave to me to use it for a few days, then he took it away. So why should I repent? So
Yes,
in that way, when we start associating everything with Krishna, then we are removing ourselves from so-called misidentification. Because if we try to identify ourselves with our possessions, that is the biggest problem. It will lead us to a lot of problems. People go into depression when they lose their money. They lose the money in the stock market and they want to commit suicide. Children, if they just don't get the good marks, they are ashamed of sharing their mark sheets with the parents and they commit suicide. Why? Why at first place this point has to come? Work for Krishna, study for Krishna. You are a student, you are a child. Your dharma is to study. So study and be a good citizen, be a good devotee. Prove yourself that the devotees are also not bereft of academic knowledge. Learn whatever is being explained in the school. Prove to the world, but at the same time, dedicate everything to Krishna. Like Arjun was fighting, but he was dedicated that entire war to Krishna. So Krishna, you are the responsible for all the results. I am not entitled to bear any sinful reactions of killing my own grandfather, of killing my own spiritual father. I am not entitled. I'm doing it as a service to you. So though I'm acting as a Kshatriya, because that's my intrinsic nature, that I'm a Kshatriya, I have to fight, but I'm dedicating this entire fight to you. Similarly, you are a student. You have to study no matter what. So dedicate all that study to Krishna. Oh Krishna, I'm doing it for you. Please accept this service of mine. Let me get all A+ grades. Let me study hard. Bless me. Pray for me. Bless me, Krishna, so that I can get straight A's, so that I can excel in all the exams. But I want to dedicate everything to you. This is the mood. Similarly, if your father is working, if your father thinks, well, what is for me to work? I can just dedicate my life to Krishna. Well, no, he is in Grahastha ashram. He has certain responsibilities to perform. So he cannot turn his face away from that responsibility. You being a student cannot turn your face away from responsibility. So he has to earn. He has to do his job. He has to maintain that family. But he is doing it for whom? He's not doing it for his own children. He's not doing for his own wife. He's doing it for the devotees of Krishna. He's been entitled with the responsibility of taking care of you, your sister, and your mother by Krishna. So whatever he's doing, he's dedicating it to Krishna. Oh Krishna, I'm doing this because you have given me this responsibility. So here I'm dedicating everything to you. Hope that helps, Mukund.
yes, Mataji. Thank you very much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hope I was not heavy. But thank you. You are very mature of your age. But I like it. Yes, Bhavana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dhanavad.
Thank you for explaining so nicely the relationship between a disciple and spiritual master, how it should be. Mataji, like my question is like the mood that Vidura had for Maitreya Muni when he was asking questions to Maitreya Muni. So how we develop that faith, that mood for the speaker from which we are hearing, like strong faith in them.
Very nice question, Mataji. How do we have faith in the person whom we are asking that question? Bhagavatam explains that you have to watch the acts of that person, his achar and his prachar. Sometimes the real life is different from the real life. So you have to know about the real life, how that person acts, how that person behaves in the adversities of life, how that person is 100% Krishna consciousness, how much faith he has on Krishna. So seeing all these qualities, that is Bhagavatam 11th canto explains the qualities of instructing spiritual master, how the spiritual master should be. So if we follow those things, if we see that, yes, this person is really walking its own talk, then yes, this is the person whom I can surrender. And secondly, you have to surrender to that person who inspires you in your spiritual life, even for a small thing. Maybe that person may inspire you to chant extra rounds. He inspires you to read Srimad Bahagvatam. He inspires you to study Srila Prabhupada books very nicely. So there are so many people who can inspire you in so many ways. In this way, you can have faith on those personalities. But at the same time, we have to pray to Krishna that please send some Sadguru in my life who can help me grow in my spiritual life. Hope that helps, Mataji.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Very nicely explained the answer. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Vinita Gandharvika, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanvat Pranamal, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for such a beautiful class, a very beautiful class, and how it is the bhakti is the main thing for us. And also without Guru's mercy, we cannot get bhakti. That is very, very nice, Mataji. And what Mukund also pointed out, like how we identify ourselves with so many things, that is very wrong. We should not be in that kind of illusion, and we have to come out. Because of that illusion, we are here again and again. Very beautiful class, Mataji. As Preeti Vilasni Mataji also pointed out, that it's very philosophical, lot of philosophy is there, but still it was, I was able to get little bit because because of my shortcomings, I was not able to fully understand, but whatever I understood, it was good, Mataji. At least I know that from this chapter, this is what there in the chapter. At least because it is a lot of philosophy, so I was not able to get everything. But thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vinita Gandharvika, Mataji. But I really say that all glories to Prabhupada. When we read Prabhupada's purport, if Prabhupada's purports would have not been there, then it would have been very difficult to understand. Because when Vidura was asking question, Maitreya Muni just said, it's the misidentification. That's it. And Vidura could understand. But people, dumb fellows like us, we cannot. So for us, Prabhupada has written this entire purport, giving analogies after analogies to explain that what actually is misidentification. How do we misidentify ourselves? So all glories to him. All glories to our dear Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Mataji. I really like the another translation also that you are reading, that how when you approach Guru, you just ask the questions, and also you, like how Vidura was telling that even if there is something that I didn't ask, please kindly explain me that also. That is like really very heart-touching, Mataji. When you are telling to Guru that I am unintelligent, I can't even ask you question. Please explain me everything. So that is my situation, Mataji. I don't know anything. Whatever you are explaining me, I'm able to get it. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Bharat Prabhu. We'll take this last question.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Thank you for your nice class, Mataji. It was very interesting and more knowing about the Lord and Prabhupada analogy and purports. So Mataji, like my question is like, how can we develop lolem for the devotional service? Like anytime we perform any service, first time we are very happy and very enthusiastic also, but with time we lose interest and take it as a usual activity, casual one. But like offering bhoga to the Lord or offering tulsi leaves or full garlands, so we take it as a normal activity after some time. So like how to maintain that enthusiasm every day, every time. And also like with that, Mataji, one more question, I used to feel sleepiness, dizziness in the class. So how can I overcome that? Very nice.
Very nice question, Bharat Prabhu. So how do we increase that laulyam? That laulyam will increase with the right knowledge. When we are in the right knowledge, when we understand the importance of what we are doing, then definitely that will increase our laulyam. Laulyam means the greed to perform more and not to take granted for whatever we are doing. For example, like Tulsi Puja. We know the importance of Tulsi Manani. We beg Tulsi Manani, Seva Abhilasha Diye Karo. Basi, right? We pray to Srimati Tulsi Maharani that it's because of you only that I get this seva of Nikunja seva of serving Radha and Krishna. So when we know that this Tulsi Maharani is the real authority, definitely we'll get love for Tulsi Maharani. So we have to know for what we are doing. If we are not knowing of what we are doing, why we are doing, naturally we become complacent in our activities. So not to become complacent in our devotional activities, the very first thing is not to be ignorant. Have the right knowledge. Secondly, be in the association of like-minded devotees. If you are in the association of those devotees who take everything, then you will also take it casually. But if you are in the association of fire-up devotees who work 24/7 in devotional service, then definitely you will also, that impact of that pure devotional service from the pure devotees will also rub on you. And then you will also be able to perform those activities. So second thing is try to be in the association. Try to be in association of good devotees, of pure devotees, at least those who are doing their devotional service very dedicatedly and sincerely. Then the third thing is that how to get laulyam is how to get to be enthusiastic is that don't let your mind control you, because mind is the one who will guide us and who will tell us that there is no need of performing devotional service. So don't let our mind take over control. Let the intelligence only take the control. And that intelligence, which is properly sharpened by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, by the verdict and instructions of the Guru, by the verdict of the Shastras, and by the instructions of our sadhus. So when our mind is taken over, then we fall off our senses. But when the intelligence takes over the mind, then our senses are always under control. So we have to make sure that we don't fall the victim of mind. Through mind, the agency of Maya works. So if we let our mind to take our control, then definitely we'll become complacent. Like suppose if I come late in the evening and I come around 11:30, by the time I go to bed it's already 12 o'clock. The mind will say, oh, it's already 12. Tomorrow waking up at 4 o'clock will be impossible. It will be just a 4-hour sleep. So the mind will start throwing the tantrums night only. In the nighttime only, the mind will say, well, you need a good amount of sleep. You have been working whole day, very tired. You need some rest. So the mind will tell, okay, tomorrow I'll take it easy. So we take it easy. But the moment we tell our mind that no matter what, let me wake up early in the morning, train your mind. No, today you will get only 3 hours of sleep. Train your mind in that way. Nighttime, if your mind throws tantrums, train your mind that today you will get only 3 hours of sleep, period. No matter what, I have to wake up in 4 o'clock or I have to wake up at 5 o'clock and do my sadhana. When we train our mind in this way, then the mind becomes our subservient. And it becomes our friend, and it will help us to wake up early in the morning. You can train your mind that, okay, in the daytime you can take a nap. But right now, the point is that even if it is late, let me wake up early in the morning. So this is just one example I am giving. So when we fall under the control of our mind, then we become complacent in our service. That we should not do. What was your second question, Bharat Prabhu?
Mataji, I used to feel very sleepy in the class.
I used to feel very sleepy. The only thing, do you understand Hindi?
Yes, Mataji.
Bhook badao. Increase your hunger. You don't feel sleepy when we are watching Bollywood movies. We don't feel sleepy when somebody is talking to us. We don't feel sleepy when somebody is cracking jokes with us. Why do we feel sleepy in Bhagavatam class? Because we don't have that hunger for it. So apni bhook badao. जब भूख बढ़ेगी स्पिरिचुअल पाथ के लिए, जब भूख बढ़ेगी भागवत सुनने के लिए, तो फिर भागवत कथा में नींद नहीं आएगी. It has been explained that when we sleep in Bhagavad Katha, that means the Maya is working with its full potency. Full potency Maya is taking control over us. So don't let Maya control. Even if you are feeling sleepy, keep a water bottle. Water bottle with you. Try to drink water after every few minutes. The speaker will not feel offended. Definitely not. But the speaker will feel rather happy that you are attentive in class. So, bhuk padao. Increase your hunger for hearing this Krishna Katha. The more you increase your hunger for Krishna Katha, the more you'll relish it. And when you relish something, there is no point of sleeping. When we are in the mode of goodness, we don't sleep. We don't sleep. So even at night time, if you put Bhagavatam Katha, we'll not sleep if we are in mode of goodness. We sleep because we come under the control of mode of ignorance. That time we sleep. So don't let that ignorance come during Bhagavad Katha. If Bhagavad Katha we are sleeping, we should understand that Maya is working with its full energy, 100% Maya is working. Because Maya doesn't want us to hear Krishna Katha. Because Maya knows if we hear Krishna Katha, then what happened? That we read, that we recited, right? Shrunvatam swakatha Krishnam punya shravana kirtanam hirdayastho hi bhadrani vidunoti suhatsatam. That abhadra, that all the contaminations will go away from our heart if we are lending our ears to Krishna Katha. Maya knows this. So Maya knows that no, I'll not let this person, this jiva to hear Krishna Katha. So Maya works with its full attention that okay, in Bhagavad Katha, the Maya will make sure that you sleep. But when your hunger is increased, then Maya will have no role to play. So increase your hunger, increase your taste, and keep your water bottle with you. Even if you feel sleepy, drink some water. So drink some water, and that will help you. That's the practical tip that I normally do it, especially when we wake up early in the morning and do chanting, and then it comes about Bhagavatam Katha. So the tendency is that sometimes we tend to sleep. So keep a water bottle with you and keep drinking water. That will help you. Hope that helps, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji, thank you for such deep explanation, Mataji. I will try to improve on and increase my hunger also, Mataji. So, Mataji, like I don't take as I take my material life seriously, I don't take my spiritual life so seriously. Like I'm doing just going on. But in material life, like everything is alert. Something doesn't happen that it will affect me. But in spiritual life, I does not consider these things. So
Come
means
into the contact of a pure devotee. Be in the association of devotees. Pray to the Supreme Lord to give you some Sadguru in your life. That will really help, Prabhu.
sure,
Praise
Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, dear devotees, it's already 9:47. So with all your permission, we'll give a pause here. We'll end our class. Preeti Vilasni Mataji or Vinita Gandharvika Mataji want to take.
Mataji, Vansha Kalpatarubhashcha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Anam Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai Kirtida Sundari Mataji ki jai
Vrinda ki jai, Granth Raj Srimad Bahagvatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, dear devotees. We'll continue next week. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you
Bye.
so